Even if you've never seen The Sound of Music, what happened to its stars will leave you speechless. This 1965 masterpiece is more than a movie. It's a timeless treasure of soaring melodies and Alpine vistas. Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer lit up the screen, sweeping the Oscars and engraving the Von Trapps into Hollywood legend. But while Christopher Plummer's story ended tragically after a horrific fall, and Julie Andrews lost her iconic voice to a botched surgery, the real-life fates of the cast were even more heartbreaking. Stay tuned as we reveal all the most shocking stories tonight. Christopher Plummer. Hidden beneath a stern and principled exterior, Captain Georg von Trapp was a father with deep love, his heart gradually moved by music and affection. Christopher Plummer brilliantly portrayed this role. In 1965, at the age of 36, he embodied the captain with a majestic demeanor, creating a memorable Georg von Trapp who led his family through wartime perils. What's shocking is that even though this was one of his most iconic roles, Christopher Plummer initially disliked the character, even bluntly calling the film too saccharine. A stunning truth for passionate fans of the film. His film career spanned over 7 decades, with peak performances in films like The Insider, 1999, and Knives Out, 2019. The pinnacle of his career came late in life when he won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in Beginners, 2010, at the age of 82, becoming the oldest person ever to receive this prestigious award. Plummer's personal life was also full of ups and downs. He went through 3 marriages, with the last and longest-lasting one being with Elaine Taylor from 1970 until his death. He had a daughter, Amanda Plummer, from his first marriage to Tammy Grimes, though he admitted he wasn't the most devoted father. The ultimate tragedy struck when he passed away on February 5, 2021, at his home in Weston, Connecticut, at the age of 91, the cause being complications from a fall leading to a head injury. Charmian Carr. As Liesl von Trapp, the dreamy eldest daughter of the Von Trapp family, Charmian Carr completely captured the hearts of audiences with her enchanting dance in the classic 16 Going on 17. Born on December 27, 1942 in Chicago, Illinois, she was 23 years old when she portrayed this role. Her grace and sweet voice transformed Liesl into the embodiment of youthful aspirations, innocent first affections. Few know that during the filming, Charmian Carr faced a significant challenge. She injured her ankle during the gazebo dance scene, but resiliently completed the shot like a true professional. This detail shows the extraordinary dedication and resolve of the young actress. After The Sound of Music, Charmian participated in only a few small projects, notably Evening Primrose, 1966, before deciding to leave Hollywood to focus on a career in writing and interior design. Her personal life also reflected the harsh reality of many Hollywood stars. She married Jay Brent in 1967 and had 2 children, but this marriage ended in 1991. Afterwards, she lived a quiet life, running a successful interior design business. However, a health tragedy struck. She struggled with depression and was eventually diagnosed with dementia, specifically frontotemporal dementia, a devastating disease that robbed her of her memory and cognitive abilities. Despite facing illness, Charmian maintained a close connection with fans and often fondly shared memories of the film. She passed away on September 17, 2016 in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 73. Her portrayal of Liesl remains a cherished part of this classic work. Have you ever watched The Sound of Music? Comment yes if you have or no if you haven't. Let us know below. Heather Menzies Urick. As Louisa von Trapp, the mischievous and stubborn second daughter, Heather Menzies Urick brought humor and warmth to the Von Trapp family. When she took on this role, she was 16 years old. Her natural performance highlighted Louisa's independent spirit and distinctive personality, who often teased Maria and her siblings. After the success of The Sound of Music, Heather continued her acting career, appearing in films such as Piranha, 1978, and as Jessica Six in the series Logan's Run, 1977 to 1978, showcasing her versatility across various genres. In her personal life, Heather Menzies Urick also faced many ups and downs. She married actor Robert Urick in 1975 and had 3 children. The couple dedicated themselves to charity work, especially after Robert's death from cancer in 2002. Yet fate seemed to continue challenging Heather. She also had to face a grave illness. She was diagnosed with brain cancer. The most heartbreaking thing was that the diagnosis of this disease was made just 1 month before her death, turning her passing into a swift and deeply tragic event. Heather Menses Urick passed away on December 24, 2017, in Frankfurt, Ontario, Canada, at the age of 68. The legacy she left behind is not only memorable roles, but also her compassionate heart and resilience in the fight against illness. Julie Andrews. Amidst the tumultuous years of World War II, a young, enthusiastic woman emerged, bringing light and music to warm the frozen hearts of the Von Trapp family. That was Maria, portrayed by the legendary Julie Andrews. At the age of 29, Julie embodied Maria with overflowing energy, a crystal-clear voice, and unparalleled optimism, transforming this character into a symbol of boundless kindness and love. That fateful role not only brought her a prestigious Academy Award nomination, but also solidified her place in the history of musical cinema. However, Julie Andrews' life off-screen was not always filled with happy melodies. She first married Tony Walton in 1959, had a daughter named Emma, but this marriage ended in 1967. She then found new happiness with director Blake Edwards, marrying him in 1969 and adopting 2 more daughters. But the true tragedy struck in 1997 when a fateful vocal cord surgery failed, permanently robbing her of her renowned singing voice, a painful loss not only for her career, but also a piece of her soul. Nevertheless, Julie Andrews demonstrated extraordinary resilience. She transitioned to writing and voice acting, most recently in Bridgerton. By 2025, Julie Andrews will turn 90, living a peaceful life with her family, and her artistic legacy continues to shine, inspiring millions. Kim Karath. At a very young age, Kim Karath embodied Gretel, the youngest child of the Von Trapp family, and quickly captured the hearts of audiences with her innocence and sweetness. Born on August 25, 1958 in Los Angeles in 1965, when participating in the film, Kim was just 7 years old. Her moving Edelweiss lullaby scene became one of the film's most adorable moments. However, filming was not easy for young Kim, especially in the iconic boat scene. A charming yet tense behind-the-scenes detail is that Kim couldn't swim at all, so Julie Andrews herself personally held her up in the water to complete the shot safely and professionally. This is a touching testament to the support and camaraderie among the actors. After The Sound of Music, Karath appeared in a few small television shows, but then decided to leave Hollywood to focus on family life. Later, she also became involved in advocating for children and pursued a career in arts and education. Currently, at the age 66, Kim Karath still maintains a close connection with The Sound of Music, frequently appearing at fan reunions and events celebrating the film's legacy worldwide, always cherishing her beautiful memories. Eleanor Parker. Eleanor Parker, born on June 26, 1922 in Cedarville, Ohio, took on the role of Baroness Elsa Schrader in The Sound of Music in 1965, an elegant, ambitious woman who vied for Captain Von Trapp's affections. Eleanor's composed and profound performance highlighted the complexity of Elsa's character, a person not entirely evil, but simply seeking happiness in her own way. However, Eleanor Parker's personal life was fraught with many ups and downs and turbulences. She went through 4 marriages and had 4 children, with her last marriage to Raymond Hirsch lasting from 1966 until her death. In her final years, Eleanor faced serious health issues, including pneumonia. This illness afflicted her in her last years. Eleanor Parker passed away on December 9, 2013, in Palm Springs, California, at the age of 91. Although her character, the Baroness, was not the hero of the film, Eleanor's portrayal created a deep, memorable antagonist who contributed significantly to the film's success. Richard Hayden. Richard Hayden, born on March 10, 1905 in London, England, embodied Max Detweiler, the witty and lively friend of the Von Trapp family, always eager to showcase their musical talents. In 1965, when he took on this role, he was 60 years old. His sharp humor and natural charm transformed Max into a standout character, bringing relaxing moments and refreshing laughter to the film. In his personal life, Richard Hayden lived quite discreetly and privately. He never married, had no children, and chose a quiet, independent life away from the hustle and bustle of Hollywood. His health declined in his final years, and he passed away on April 25, 1985 in Los Angeles, California at the age of 80. The cause of death was determined to be a heart attack. Although the role of Max Detweiler was not central, Richard Hayden's presence created a charismatic supporting character, leaving an indelible mark on viewers. Peggy Wood. Peggy Wood, born on February 9, 1892 in Brooklyn, New York, embodied Mother Abbess with a wise, compassionate, and empathetic beauty. When she took on this role, she was 73 years old. Her performance of Climb Every Mountain became an icon, a great source of inspiration, encouraging Maria to follow her heart's calling. In addition to this classic role, Peggy was also widely known for the film I Remember Mama, 1948, a work that brought her a prestigious Academy Award nomination. She also had an illustrious stage career spanning from the early 20th century, proving her talent and enduring dedication to art. Surprisingly, Peggy Wood's personal life was much quieter than her brilliant career. She married John V.A. Weaver in 1920 and had a son, but she became a widow in 1938 and never remarried. She lived a private and discreet life in her final years. Peggy Wood passed away on March 18, 1978, in Stamford, Connecticut, at the age of 86. However, the cause of her death is a point of curiosity and contradiction among sources. Some sources assert she died from a stroke, while others suggest the cause of death was not publicly detailed and was likely due to old age. This inconsistency leaves audiences wondering what the final truth about the passing of a legend truly is. Regardless, her portrayal of Mother Abbess remains an enduring symbol of wisdom and compassion in the hearts of fans. Do you still remember Mother Abbess or any cast member from The Sound of Music? Type yes if you do, or no if you don't. Comment below. Nicholas Hammond. Nicholas Hammond, born on May 15, 1950 in Washington, D.C., portrayed a tall, mischievous, yet very affectionate Friedrich von Trapp. At that time, Nicholas was only 15 years old. His performance fully captured Friedrich's youthful energy and adventurous spirit, contributing to the special charm of the talented child cast. After The Sound of Music, Nicholas continued to be widely known for his role as Peter Parker in the Amazing Spider-Man series 1977 to 1979, becoming one of the first on-screen versions of Spider-Man. He also appeared in Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, 2001. Beyond acting, Nicholas also achieved success as a talented screenwriter and director. Nicholas Hammond's life journey outside the spotlight was generally relatively stable and quiet. He married Laura Dolman in 1980, though they later divorced and had no children together. Currently, at the age of 75, Nicholas continues to pursue his passion for art and occasionally participates in events related to The Sound of Music, preserving the beautiful memories of his childhood. Angela Cartwright. Angela Cartwright, born on September 9, 1952 in Altrincham, Cheshire, England, brought to audiences a perceptive and witty Brigitte von Trapp. Brigitte was known for her sharp yet lovable remarks, often highlighting intelligent observations about the world around her. Angela's natural grace truly brought Brigitte's unique personality to life, making her a bright spot in the child cast. Before this role, Angela had gained fame very early in the series Make Room for Daddy, 1957 to 1964, and later solidified her position in Hollywood as Penny Robinson in Lost in Space, 1965 to 1968, demonstrating her versatile acting ability. Unlike many other Hollywood stars who often face personal life struggles, Angela Cartwright found peace and fulfillment in her family life. She married Steve Golian in 1976 and they had 2 children. Over the years, Angela shifted her passion to photography and writing, continuously nurturing her artistic soul through new means of expression. Currently, at the age 73, she continues her creative and fulfilling life, frequently staying in touch with fans through her artistic projects, showing an unending journey of a true artist. Dwayne Chase. Dwayne Chase embodied Kurt von Trapp, the cheerful and kind third son of the Von Trapp family. At that time, Dwayne was 15 years old. He is best remembered by audiences for his clear singing voice in the emotional So Long Farewell. a lovely and unforgettable moment. This performance was a notable highlight in Dwayne's relatively short acting career. After the success of The Sound of Music, Dwayne had only a few small appearances, including in the Big Valley series, 1966, before making a surprising decision, leaving glamorous Hollywood to pursue a completely different career in science. Leaving the spotlight, Dwayne Chase chose a quiet and private life, focusing on his passion for academia and research. He married Mary Chase and achieved significant success in geology and environmental studies. A highlight in his journey is that he earned advanced degrees in this field, demonstrating his commitment and superior talent beyond acting. Currently, at the age of 75, Dwayne Chase enjoys a peaceful life with his family, completely away from public attention, a meaningful and distinct life choice. And Debbie Turner. As Marta Von Trapp, the sweet and affectionate fourth daughter, Debbie Turner brought innocence and pure joy to the Von Trapp family. Born on September 5, 1956, in Pasadena, California, when she took on the role, Debbie was only 9 years old. Her natural and emotional performance transformed Marta into an essential and indispensable part of the child cast, making audiences adore her. After the resounding success of The Sound of Music, instead of continuing her acting career, Debbie Turner chose a different path, focusing on her personal interests and passions. Debbie Turner's life later took a completely new and creative turn. She married Rick York and raised 4 children, building a happy home. Additionally, she built a highly successful floral and event design business called Debbie Turner Originals. This is where she could fully express her artistic passion and endless creativity in design work, creating unique and beautiful pieces. An interesting detail about Debbie is that she occasionally still appears at The Sound of Music cast reunions and conventions, showing her deep connection and affection for her cinematic family. Ben Wright. Ben Wright embodied Herr Zeller, the stern Nazi officer who brought tension and conflict to the story. His sharp performance highlighted the stark contrast between his character and the peace-loving Von Trapp family, authentically demonstrating the threat from the fascist side. Similar to his stable and enduring career, Ben Wright's personal life was also quiet and private. He married Muriel Wright and had 2 children, building a happy small family. In his final years, Ben Wright struggled with heart problems. This illness significantly affected his health. He passed away on July 2, 1989, in Burbank, California, at the age of 74 after heart surgery. Although the role of Herr Zeller was an unpleasant character, Ben Wright's talent contributed to the depth and drama of The Sound of Music, leaving a strong impression on audiences. Norma Varden. Norma Varden, born on January 20, 1898 in London, England, portrayed Frau Schmidt in The Sound of Music in 1965. With her sharp yet deeply caring demeanor, her character subtly enriched the film's dynamics, providing both discipline and necessary warmth for a large family like the Von Trapps. Although her screen time was limited, Norma's performance left a memorable impression, enhancing the harmony and authenticity of the cast in the film. In addition to this beloved role, Norma Varden had a career spanning decades, appearing in numerous films and television shows. She was particularly recognized for her performances in Witness for the Prosecution, 1957, and Strangers on a Train, 1951, demonstrating her excellent adaptability to various genres and characters. Off-screen, Norma Varden lived a quiet and humble life, away from the dazzling spotlight of Hollywood. She married George B. Wright, and although they had no children, after becoming a widow, she continued to live a private, simple life. She passed away on January 19, 1989 in Santa Barbara, California, just one day before her 91st birthday. The cause of death was determined to be heart failure. Although it was a supporting role, Norma Varden's presence contributed significantly to building the vivid and authentic world of The Sound of Music. Porsche Nelson. Porsche Nelson took on the role of Sister Bertha when she was 45 years old. Sister Bertha was a strict but ultimately kind nun who brought a touch of gentle humor to Maria's journey while she was in the convent. Although not a main role, Porsche's performance added depth and authenticity to the convent scenes, making her character both formidable and endearing, demonstrating the internal complexity of those in religious orders. Similar to her diverse career, Porsche's personal life was very independent. She never married or had children, instead fully dedicating herself to her artistic passions, living her career to the fullest. Even while struggling with laryngeal cancer in her final years, a great tragedy for a singer and actress, she remained active and dedicated, leaving a legacy of unwavering resilience and creativity. Porsche Nelson passed away on March 6, 2001 in New York City, New York at the age of 80. Manne Nixon. Manne Nixon, born on February 22, 1930, in Altadena, California, embodied Sister Sophia in The Sound of Music in 1965. Sister Sophia was a warm and gentle nun who often appeared in the film's group singing scenes, contributing to the serene and harmonious atmosphere at the Abbey. Although her on-screen role in The Sound of Music was quite modest, Manne Nixon was no stranger to musical greatness. Beyond her peak yet silent career, her personal life was also full of triumphs and challenges. She married 3 times and had 3 children, experiencing the ups and downs of both family and career. Her last marriage to Albert Bloch lasted until her death. In her final years, Manne Nixon bravely battled breast cancer, yet she never stopped, actively participating in the music community, teaching and performing. She passed away on July 24, 2016 in New York City, New York, at the age of 86. Manne Nixon's legacy is not only her uncredited roles, but also her immortal voice, living on in the hearts of music lovers. Daniel Truhitt. Daniel Truhitt, born on September 10, 1943 in Sacramento, California, embodied Rolf, the charming young delivery boy who initially became Liesel's love interest in The Sound of Music in 1965. At that time, he was 22 years old, his performance in just 16. Going on 17 Inches remains one of the film's most memorable moments, capturing both innocent youthful romance and the film's underlying tension as the political backdrop began to complicate. However, Daniel's character took a tragic and shocking turn. He allied with the Nazis and ultimately betrayed the Von Trapp family, turning the initial pure love into a bitter outcome. After the film, Daniel did not continue a major film acting career. Instead, he pursued a path in music and theater, working as a singer, actor, and vocal coach, transmitting his passion for art to the next generation. His life journey is a testament to choosing a distinct path. Currently, at the age of 81, as of 2025, Daniel Truhitt remains active in music and frequently participates in the Sound of Music fan events, always willing to share about his iconic role. Anna Lee. Anna Lee, born on January 2, 1913 in Iffley, England, embodied Sister Margareta. At that time, she was 52 years old. Sister Margareta was a kind and supportive nun who deeply sympathized with Maria's situation and always stood by her. She is considered one of Maria's greatest allies at the Abbey, providing warmth and comfort in Maria's greatest times of need. With an acting career spanning over 7 decades, Anna Lee was a beloved actress in both film and television, leaving behind a vast legacy of roles. Known for her on-screen grace and warmth, her portrayal of Sister Margareta added a gentle and humorous touch to the story, making her a cherished part of the film's legacy. However, her life also faced physical tragedy. She had to use a wheelchair for many years due to injuries from a serious car accident that occurred in 1981. Despite physical difficulties, Anna Lee continued to live and dedicate herself to art until the end of her life. She passed away on May 14, 2004, at the age of 91, the cause being pneumonia. If you enjoyed this video, comment on your country below. It's great to see our international community growing. Thanks for your support. Gilchrist Stewart. Gilchrist Stewart as Baron Elberfeld in The Sound of Music in 1965. Although his role did not have many lines or significant screen time, this character played an important part in showing the film's tense political backdrop. He was a nobleman subtly resisting the Nazi occupation. When he took on this role, Gilchrist Stewart was 54 years old. Despite being a small role in the film, he had a stable and enduring career in both film and television, often cast in roles representing power or nobility thanks to his characteristic demeanor and voice. His brief yet impactful presence in the story added to the tension of the political backdrop, making him a notable, albeit silent, part of the film's supporting cast. He effectively portrayed the subtle resistance of the Austrian aristocracy against the expansion of Nazi Germany. Gilchrist Stewart passed away on June 26, 1977, at the age of 66. Although not a prominent star, his persistent career as a supporting actor contributed to the richness of Hollywood cinema for decades. Doris Lloyd. Doris Lloyd, a veteran actress, played a party guest in the film The Sound of Music in 1965. Some sources refer to her as Baroness Eberfeld or Baroness Ifall, a noblewoman subtly expressing her opposition to the Nazi presence in Vienna. With a prolific acting career spanning over 4 decades, Doris Lloyd appeared in countless films, showcasing her versatility and ability to transform across various genres. Notably, she appeared in classics such as The Time Machine and Alice in Wonderland, where she voiced the Rose character, lending her distinctive voice to the animated character. Although her role in The Sound of Music was relatively small, her extensive body of work and persistent dedication left a lasting impact on the history of classic Hollywood cinema. She was one of the familiar faces of the big screen at the time, always excelling even in the smallest roles. Doris Lloyd passed away on May 21, 1968, at the age of 71, due to natural causes. Montego Grady. Montego Grady took on the role of a party guest in The Sound of Music in 1965. He was a former child actor, having appeared in many silent films from the early days of cinema, and later continued his career as a background actor, contributing significantly to creating vivid settings for cinematic works. In 1965, when he appeared in The Sound of Music, he was 54 years old. Although his role in this film was a minor supporting role, Montego Grady's presence with his long acting experience added depth and authenticity to the film's scenes, especially in the large gatherings of the Von Trapp family. He was part of Hollywood's golden generation, those who dedicated their lives to art, even if they weren't always in the spotlight. His life and career are a testament to perseverance and love for the profession. Montego Grady passed away on March 8, 2000, at the age of 84 in Los Angeles, California, USA, due to natural causes. Frank Baker. Frank Baker, an English actor, played a party guest at the elegant Von Trapp family gathering in The Sound of Music in 1965. In 1965, when he appeared in the film, he was 73 years old. He was known for his roles in Hollywood westerns and other small supporting roles, often bringing authenticity and uniqueness to his characters. Frank Baker's elegant demeanor and extensive acting experience, even in a guest role, helped make the Von Trapp family party scene more vibrant and authentic than ever. He was one of the familiar faces of cinema at the time, always performing his role professionally. His career, though not dazzling, was incredibly persistent and diverse. Frank Baker passed away on December 30, 1980, at the age of 88, in Woodland Hills, California, USA, due to natural causes. Leota Richards. Leota Richards took on the role of a party guest at the large Von Trapp family gathering in The Sound of Music in 1965. When she appeared in the film, Leota Richards was 49 years old. Although her roles were often small, little-mentioned supporting roles, her presence played an important part in building the setting and atmosphere for many films. In The Sound of Music, she was one of the faces that created the lavishness and splendor of the party, helping audiences better visualize the life of the Austrian aristocracy before the war struck. She was an indispensable part of the film crew, those silent contributors who helped create the success of a great work. Leota Richards lived a long life and witnessed many changes in cinema. She passed away on February 7, 1998, at the age of 90 in Los Angeles, California, USA, due to natural causes. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was once one of the most powerful film producers in Hollywood. He had immense influence over numerous award-winning projects and the careers of countless actors. However, he is now in prison after being convicted of a string of sex crimes. He became the epicenter of one of the biggest scandals in entertainment history. Weinstein's downfall began in 2017, when brave women came forward to accuse him of misconduct, harassment, and sexual assault. This ignited the global Me Too movement. For decades, Weinstein abused his power and influence to manipulate, coerce, and assault multiple women. He silenced them with threats of career ruin. In February 2020, Weinstein was convicted of third-degree sexual assault and first-degree criminal sexual act related to 2 women. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison in New York. However, in 2024, the New York Court of Appeals overturned this conviction, citing that Weinstein did not receive a fair trial. The court argued that some women's testimonies should not have been admitted as they were not named in the main charges. Nevertheless, Weinstein's legal troubles did not end there. In California, he faced additional charges related to 5 women from 2004 to 2013. In 2022, a Los Angeles jury convicted him of forcible sexual assault and sexual battery involving multiple women. He received an additional 16-year sentence to begin after he completes his New York sentence, if any. This sentence virtually guarantees that Weinstein will spend the rest of his life in prison. Zara Fithian. Zara Fithian, the actress known for her role in the film Doctor Strange, faced a major downfall when she was convicted in 2022 in a disturbing child sexual abuse case alongside her husband Victor Mark. Both were convicted of abusing a young girl over an extended period. The victim stated the abuse began in 2005, initiated by a dare from Fithian. The girl was then coerced into performing and recording explicit acts with the couple, actions that continued for some time and were carefully concealed. At trial, prosecutors revealed that Mark was considered the primary manipulator in the relationship. Fithian's defense argued that Mark's influence played a role in her actions, but the judge ruled that both were to be held fully accountable for their crimes. Fithian, who had achieved some success as a martial artist and actress, saw her career and public image crumble as the details of the abuse came to light. As a result of the trial, Zara Fithian was sentenced to 8 years in prison while her husband received a 14-year sentence. Fithian, 37 years old when sentenced, is expected to serve at least half her sentence before being eligible for parole, meaning her projected release date is around 2026. Drew Drechsel. Drew Drechsel, the star of the popular show American Ninja Warrior, had an admirable career before he plummeted into disgrace in 2020. He was arrested for crimes related to the sexual abuse of children. The case originated from a 2019 investigation when a teenage girl accused Drechsel of initiating an inappropriate relationship with her in 2015 when she was just 15 years old. This relationship included sexually explicit messages and progressed to physical encounters. A deeper investigation uncovered further evidence of sensitive messages and images between Drechsel and minors. This suggested the potential distribution of material depicting child sexual abuse. Drechel's arrest sent shockwaves through the American Ninja Warrior community. Show producers quickly severed all ties, removing all images and materials of him. Sponsors and partners also terminated their contracts. This shattered his career and reputation overnight. In 2023, Drechsel pleaded guilty to 1 count of receipt of illegal material depicting the sexual abuse of children and 1 count of inducing a minor to travel across state lines for sexual purposes. In 2024, he was sentenced to 10 years and 1 month in federal prison, followed by 15 years of supervised release. He was also ordered to pay $100,000 in restitution to the victim. At 35 years old when incarcerated, Drechsel is projected to be released around 2034. Joe Sun. Joe Sun, the actor remembered for his role as Random Task in the hit comedy film Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery in 1997, is currently serving 34 years to life in prison. This stems from his involvement in a brutal crime in 1990 that remained unsolved for nearly 2 decades. On Christmas Eve 1990, Sun and an accomplice named Santiago Gaitan committed a horrific crime in Huntington Beach, California. They forced a 19-year-old woman into a car at gunpoint. Then they took her to a secluded area and sexual assault, beaten and tortured her for hours, leaving her naked and traumatized on the side of the road. This case went cold for years until 2008, when Son was arrested for an unrelated probation violation. During booking, his DNA sample was taken and matched evidence from the 1990 attack. Although the statute of limitations for sexual assault had expired, he was still prosecuted for torture. In 2011, a California jury convicted him. Son was sentenced to 7 years to life in prison. But that was not the end. Just 1 month after his incarceration, Joe Son was accused of killing his cellmate, Michael Graham, also known as Charles Graham. Son had beaten and strangled Graham to death. Although Son initially claimed self-defense, he eventually pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. In 2017, he was sentenced to an additional 27 years in prison for this killing. This 27-year sentence was stacked on top of his existing life sentence. That means this sentence would not begin until his life sentence concluded. Joe Son is currently serving 34 years to life in prison. Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson, famous for his role as Stephen Hyde in the hit sitcom That 70s Show, was plagued for years by accusations of sexual assault. This culminated in his imprisonment. The accusations against Masterson date back to the early 2000s, when he was at the peak of his fame. Multiple victims came forward, accusing Masterson of sexual assault at his Hollywood Hills home between 2001 and 2003. A complicating factor in the case was the influence of the Church of Scientology, of which Masterson was a prominent member. Victims stated they were pressured by the church not to report the incidents to authorities. Some were even coerced into signing non-disclosure agreements or offered money to remain silent. The Me Too movement in 2017 empowered brave victims to come forward. The investigation led to Masterson's arrest in 2020. Prosecutors argued that his behavior was predatory. He often provided alcohol to impair the victim's judgment before assaulting them. The consequences for Masterson were swift and severe. He was fired from his role in Netflix's The Ranch series, ending his promising career. After a long and closely watched trial in May 2023, the jury convicted Masterson of 2 counts of forcible sexual assault. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. At 47 years old when sentenced, he will not be eligible for parole until he is at least 77, projected for around 2053. During the sentencing hearing, Judge Charlene Olmedo told him, "You are not the victim here. You took away the voice and choice of your victims, and now you will face the consequences." Masterson is currently serving his sentence at California State Prison, Corcoran. His lawyers have filed an appeal, but the chances of success are considered slim. Do you remember these celebrities or their shocking crimes? There are even more disturbing cases ahead that most people have never heard of. Comment 1 if you want to see the next jaw-dropping story. Michael Chase. Michael Chase, the actor known to audiences as LAPD officer Julian Lowe in the series The Shield, saw his life and career utterly crumble in 2014. He committed an unforgivable act. On the night of May 19, 2014, in a fit of extreme rage, Chase shot and killed his wife, April Chase, right in their Los Angeles home. Their 2 young children, only 5 and 8 years old, were present. In court, testimony revealed that Chase shot his wife once in the back and twice in the leg. Even more horrifying, he was reportedly heard telling April, who was a runner, "If you want to run, then run to heaven." Immediately after the shooting, Chase called 911 and confessed to his actions. By the time police arrived at the scene, April Chase was lifeless. In 2016, Michael Chase was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. At 53 years old when sentenced, Chase will not be eligible for parole until he serves at least 40 years. This means he might be released in his early 90s, around 2056. Chase is currently serving his sentence at Corcoran State Prison. A belated apology from Chase in court could not heal the wounds he inflicted on his family. Bobby Beausoleil. Bobby Beausoleil was once a figure in California's underground music and film scene in the 1960s. He played guitar and participated in art films. However, his life took a dark turn when he joined Charles Manson in the summer of 1969. On July 25, 1969, Beausoleil, along with other members of the Manson family, went to the home of Gary Hinman, a music teacher and occasional drug dealer. Hinman was tortured for 2 days. He was slashed with a sword and ultimately stabbed to death by Beausoleil on July 27th. The group smeared political piggy in Hinman's blood on the wall. They drew a paw print, intending to blame the Black Panthers and trigger the race war that Manson believed was imminent. Beausoleil was arrested a few days later while driving Hinman's stolen car. In April 1970, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. 2 years later, the California Supreme Court overturned the death penalty and his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. Although he continued to compose music in prison, those works could not erase his crimes. For decades, he was denied parole numerous times. Despite parole boards approving his release in 2019 and 2022, the California governor rejected these decisions. The governor stated that his crimes were heinous and Beausoleil still lacked true insight into what he had done. Bobby Beausoleil has been in prison for over 50 years. Shannon Richardson. Shannon Richardson, an actress with minor roles in shows like The Walking Dead and The Vampire Diaries, gained notoriety not for her acting, but for a crime that shocked the entire nation. In 2013, Richardson was arrested in a high-profile case involving conspiring to poison high-ranking government officials, specifically then-President Barack Obama. Richardson's crime began to unfold in May 2013, when ricin-laced letters, a deadly toxin derived from castor beans, were sent to prominent figures. These included President Barack Obama, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and the head of a gun control advocacy group. These letters contained threatening language, warning the recipients not to infringe on citizens' gun rights. When the poisoned letters were intercepted, authorities launched a large-scale investigation to trace their origin. Initially, Richardson attempted to frame her estranged husband, Nathan Richardson. She even claimed to have found castor beans and other evidence in their home, all intended to point to Nathan. However, as investigators scrutinized her story, it began to unravel. They discovered that Shannon herself had ordered castor beans online using her computer and email account. Faced with the evidence, Richardson ultimately admitted her role in sending the ricin-laced letters. She confessed to attempting to frame her ex-husband as part of her scheme. Richardson was subsequently arrested and charged with multiple federal crimes, including threatening the president and possessing a biological toxin with intent to use as a weapon. In 2014, Richardson pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. At 36 years old, when sentenced, she is projected to remain incarcerated until approximately 2031. Because YouTube will prioritize interactive videos, please comment OK if you find this video interesting. Tamara Lin Sitch. Tamara Lin Sitch, widely known by her WWE stage name Sunny, had a life riddled with personal struggles and legal troubles. She was once a performer, but her life was marred by substance abuse, leading to numerous DUI charges and short jail stints. Her most serious incident occurred in 2022, when Sitch was involved in a fatal car crash in Florida, resulting in the death of 75-year-old Julian Lacatena. According to police reports, Sitch was driving under the influence when she slammed into the back of another vehicle at high speed, causing the crash that claimed Lacatena's life. Following the investigation, it was revealed that Sitch's blood alcohol content was more than 3 times the legal limit. After her arrest for the fatal accident, Sitch faced a litany of charges, including DUI manslaughter, driving with a suspended license, and causing death while operating a vehicle under the influence. In August 2023, Sitch pleaded no contest to the charges, accepting the grave consequences of her actions. She was subsequently sentenced to 17 years in prison. At 50 years old, this sentence means Sitch will be released at 67 with a projected date of 2039. She is currently incarcerated in a Florida state prison. Thank you. Ryan Grantham. Ryan Grantham, known for his roles in shows like Riverdale and films like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, shocked fans and the entertainment industry with the crime that led to his imprisonment. His case began in early 2020 when Grantham, struggling with personal and psychological issues, committed a murder that destroyed his promising career and led to a tragic end to his public life. On March 31, 2020, Grantham shot and killed his mother, Barbara Waite, 64, while she was playing piano in their home. Afterward, he videotaped his mother's body with a GoPro and calmly confessed to the camera, saying, "I shot her in the back of the head." Even more chilling was Grantham's next plan. Instead of calling the police, he drank beer, smoked marijuana, and stared at his mother's body. Then, he loaded his car with weapons, 3 guns, ammunition, 12 homemade Molotov cocktails, camping gear, and directions to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's residence. He planned to drive to Ottawa with the intention of harming Prime Minister Trudeau, although he ultimately abandoned that intention after driving about 200 kilometers and turned himself into the police in Vancouver. He also considered attacking the Lionsgate Bridge in Vancouver or Simon Fraser University. Grantham later confessed to the crime, citing overwhelming feelings of depression and guilt. In 2022, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The court found his actions to be both premeditated and driven by his deteriorating mental health issues. Grantham was sentenced to life in prison with parole eligibility after 14 years. At 24 years old when sentenced, he will be eligible for parole in 2036 when he is 38. Jerry Harris. Jerry Harris, the well-known cheerleader from Netflix's Cheer, became the subject of a disturbing criminal investigation in 2020. He was once a beloved figure, rising from Navarro College's cheerleading squad to become a star of the Netflix show. However, it was this new fame and access to social media that allowed him to exploit his influence. Investigators later revealed that Harris engaged in inappropriate conversations with underage boys through social media. He often convinced them to send explicit photos and videos. He targeted minors as young as early teens and coerced them over a period of time, leveraging his status to gain their trust and manipulate their admiration. The case came to light when 2 twin brothers accused Harris of coercing them into sending explicit content. After his arrest in September 2020, Harris faced serious federal charges. These included producing sexually exploitative material involving minors and traveling across state lines with the intent to engage in illicit acts with minors. Netflix and other associated entities quickly severed all ties with him. Harris pleaded guilty in February 2022 to 2 of the most serious charges: 1 count of receipt of harmful behavior toward minors and 1 count of traveling with intent to engage in sexual activity with a minor. In July 2022, he was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 8 years of supervised release. At 22 years old, when sentenced with good behavior, he could be released around 2034 at age 30. Skyler Deleon. Skyler Deleon, a self-proclaimed child actor whose only notable role was an obscure supporting part in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the early 90s. But when he made headlines again, it wasn't for acting but for being a cold-blooded killer. In 2003, Deleon briefly met John Jarvis in prison. Afterward, he tricked Jarvis into investing $50,000 in a fictitious deal in Mexico. When Jarvis arrived, trusting and unaware, Deleon slit his throat and dumped his body by the side of the road. However, the next murder was even more ruthless. In November 2004, Deleon and his then-wife Jennifer Henderson, along with accomplices, posed as prospective buyers to meet Tom and Jackie Hawkes, a couple selling their yacht well-deserved. To lend an air of legitimacy, Deleon even brought his pregnant wife and their child. On November 15th, during a test run of the boat, Deleon and his accomplices overpowered the Hawks, tied them up, and forced them to sign over ownership of the yacht. Then they bound the Hawks with duct tape, tied them to a 65-pound anchor, and threw them alive into the Pacific Ocean. Their bodies were never found, adding another layer of horror and mystery to the case. Deleon was arrested in 2008 and convicted of 3 murders. On April 10, 2009, Judge Frank F. Fassel sentenced Deleon to death. He is currently held on death row at San Quentin State Prison in California. It's worth noting that the death penalty has been suspended in California since 2019. A notable detail is that while in prison, Deleon transitioned and now identifies as female. Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic, real name Joseph Allen Schreibvogel, born in 1963, is famous for his eccentric persona as the owner of the Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park in Oklahoma. He spent years building his brand as a big cat and exotic animal advocate. One of his biggest rivals was Carole Baskin, an animal rights activist and owner of Big Cat Rescue. Baskin frequently accused Joe of animal abuse and irresponsible practices. Joe's hatred for Carole Baskin grew, becoming an obsession. He blamed her for his financial troubles. In 2017, Joe's bitterness reached its climax. Prosecutors later revealed that he had attempted to hire a hitman to kill Baskin. He believed it was the only way to escape her relentless pressure. According to trial evidence, Joe offered $3,000 to a zoo employee to travel to Florida and carry out the murder. Additionally, authorities discovered that Joe had illegally killed 5 tigers at his zoo. He falsified wildlife records to sell endangered tiger cubs, violating the Endangered Species Act. In 2019, Joe Exotic was arrested and faced numerous charges, including 2 counts of murder for hire and multiple wildlife trafficking violations. His trial was closely followed by the public. The jury ultimately convicted him of 17 federal charges, including conspiracy to commit murder and various wildlife violations. Exotic was sentenced to 22 years, later reduced to 21 years in federal prison. At 56 years old, he is incarcerated at the Federal Medical Center in Fort Worth, Texas. Currently 60, he is projected to be released at 77. Zack Avery. Zack Avery, an aspiring actor who wanted to make a name for himself in the film industry, not just as an actor but also as an entrepreneur. He founded the company One in Capital, claiming to secure international distribution rights for English-language films. Avery presented himself as a visionary who could connect Hollywood with international markets. In presentations to investors, he claimed to have lucrative licensing deals with streaming giants like Netflix and HBO. He promised significant and rapid returns. However, the reality was Avery's deals were all fictitious. From 2014 to 2019, he orchestrated a massive Ponzi scheme, defrauding investors of approximately $650 million. He convinced investors he had exclusive distribution agreements, but instead he used their money to pay off earlier investors. This created a cycle of deception. The money he raised was not used for film projects. Instead, Avery used it to fund a lavish lifestyle with luxurious homes, designer clothes, and expensive travel. To maintain the facade, he even forged emails and contracts to reassure investors. Eventually, Avery's massive fraud unraveled. The FBI launched an investigation and revealed the extent of his fraudulent operations. The documents Avery had used to entice investors were all fabricated. The millions of dollars he claimed his company earned were non-existent. In 2022, at 35 years old, Zack Avery was convicted of securities fraud and wire fraud. He was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison and ordered to pay over $230 million in restitution to the defrauded investors. He is projected to be released in 2042 at approximately 55 years old. Prison. Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar, a familiar face from the reality TV show 19 Kids and Counting, experienced a staggering downfall. It culminated in his arrest and imprisonment in 2021 for crimes involving minors. Although there were revelations in 2015 about his inappropriate behavior with 5 underage girls, including his sisters when they were teenagers, no legal charges were filed at the time. However, in 2019, federal authorities began investigating Duggar's online activities. The investigation revealed that Duggar had used the dark web to download illegal content involving minors. According to court documents, Duggar installed sophisticated software on his computer to circumvent the internet monitoring program his wife used. This allowed him to access videos and images undetected. An investigator described the material as among the worst he had ever encountered in his career. Duggar was arrested in April 2021 and charged with 2 counts, receipt and possession of illegal material involving minors. In December 2021, he was convicted on both counts. In May 2022, Duggar was sentenced to 12.5 years in federal prison. He, then 34 years old, is incarcerated at FCI Segerville in Texas. With good behavior, he could be released in 2032 at approximately 44 years old. Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle, once the famous Subway guy, an icon of successful weight loss and healthy living, saw his image completely shattered in 2015. An investigation revealed his involvement in crimes involving minors. Fogle's downfall began in 2015 when the FBI investigated Russell Taylor, the director of Fogle's charity, the Jared Foundation, and his close associate. This investigation led to the discovery of illegal material involving minors being produced and distributed. Subsequently, Fogle's electronic devices were also seized. These revealed messages, emails, and records proving his involvement in the sexual abuse of children. Fogle had solicited inappropriate visual content from minors and engaged in illegal cross-state activity. Fogle's actions were not only criminal but exceptionally hypocritical. He had used his public image to promote health and positive lifestyles to young people. He operated the Jared Foundation with the goal of fighting childhood obesity. However, it was later revealed that the foundation had very little real impact. Much of the fund was not used for charitable purposes. Subway immediately terminated its partnership with him. In August 2015, Fogle pleaded guilty to 2 serious charges: distribution and receipt of illegal material involving minors, and traveling across state lines for illegal sexual activity with minors. He was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months in federal prison without the possibility of parole. He was also ordered to pay $1.4 million in restitution to the victims. Fogle is currently serving his sentence at federal prison camp Englewood, Colorado. On a scale of 1 to 5, how shocked were you when you learned the truth about Jared Fogle's crimes? Comment your number and let us know your reaction. Will Hayden, the former star of Discovery Channel's reality show Sons of Guns, was known as a skilled gunsmith and owner of Red Jacket Firearms. Hayden's television image was that of a tough, outspoken firearms expert. He was admired for his knowledge of weaponry. However, in 2014, allegations surfaced revealing a disturbing side to Hayden's life, leading to his imprisonment for sex offenses. The accusations first emerged in August 2014, when one of Hayden's daughters accused him of sexual abuse, leading to his arrest. Initially, he denied the allegations, claiming they were fabricated. However, as the investigation continued, additional victims came forward, including another of Hayden's daughters, also accusing him of abusing her. Evidence against him quickly mounted, painting a picture of repeated abuse that had spanned many years. The specific charges against Hayden were very serious. He faced multiple counts of aggravated sexual battery, aggravated incest, and forcible sexual battery. At trial, witnesses recounted harrowing stories detailing how Hayden exploited his position of trust to manipulate and control his victims. The consequences for Hayden's career were immediate and permanent. Discovery Channel quickly cancelled Sons of Guns after his arrest. Red Jacket Firearms severed ties with him. In April 2017, Hayden was convicted of 2 counts of aggravated sexual battery and 1 count of forcible sexual battery. This resulted in 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 40 years. Subsequently, an additional life sentence was added to his conviction. This means he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Hayden is currently serving his sentence at Louisiana State Penitentiary, the largest maximum security prison in the United States, also known as the Alcatraz of the South. Rashid Byrd was once a promising figure, standing over 6 feet 10 inches tall. He played 1 season for the Los Angeles Defenders, a Lakers affiliate team. Although he didn't make it to the NBA, his stature and presence earned him a small role in Will Ferrell's movie Semi-Pro. However, behind the facade of a former athlete, something far darker was at play. In 2019, everything began to unravel when a woman reported a horrifying story to the LAPD. Detectives quickly discovered this was not an isolated incident. Byrd had previously been convicted of sexual assault in 2010. Prior to that, he was arrested in 2005 in Washington for assaulting another young woman. What detectives uncovered was deeply disturbing. Byrd had a pattern of behavior. He used his image as a former athlete and minor celebrity to meet women, often online. Initially, he was charming, friendly, and confident. But once he gained their trust, his behavior changed. Detective Dar Brown, who led the case, simply explained, That charm turned to violence. That's how it started. That's how it always started. The attacks were not limited to Los Angeles. From 2015 to 2020, Byrd targeted women across multiple counties. On September 20th, 2020, Byrd was finally arrested. The subsequent trial exposed everything: the manipulation, the lies, the brutality. The charges involved multiple victims and numerous assaults. It became clear this was not someone who made a mistake, but someone who knew exactly what he was doing, repeatedly. On March 1st, 2024, the court sentenced him to 90 years to life in prison. That number was no coincidence. It reflected the horror and the repetition of his crimes. It means Rashid Byrd will die behind bars. As the final note of The Sound of Music fades, so too have the lives of its remarkable cast, each story more haunting than the last. From Christopher Plummer's devastating fall, to Julie Andrews' heartbreaking silence, to the private battles and sudden farewells of the rest, their journeys remind us that even legends aren't spared from tragedy, yet their legacies endure on screen, in song, and in the memories of every viewer. And if these memories moved you, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so their music never stops.